This hotel sits inside a fort with walls 20 meters thick, built centuries ago to survive cannon fire, and today it holds just 29 rooms. It's called Amangalla, inside Galle Fort in Sri Lanka, a building that has stood since 1684. In the next 10 minutes, I'll show you exactly what's inside: the rooms, the food, and the spa treatments that have made this one of the most exclusive small hotels in Asia, tucked behind walls most visitors only ever see from the outside. Step through the entrance, and you arrive in the Zal, the Great Hall, where overhead fans turn slowly beneath towering ceilings, oversized mirrors catch the afternoon light, and antique furniture sits exactly where it seems to have always stood. This isn't a hotel dressed up to look colonial. It genuinely is the same building, still holding the same silence it held 3 centuries ago, before a single modern fitting was ever quietly added behind the scenes. Amangalla's 29 rooms and suites unfold across 4 distinct categories, each with the same high ceilings, original teak floorboards, and tall windows that let the fort's sea air move freely through every space. The bedroom and garden room each span 40 square meters, one facing the historic Groot Kerk Church, the other opening directly onto lush garden greenery just beyond the window. The larger chamber rooms and veranda chambers stretch to 65 square meters, several with their own private outdoor sitting areas, built specifically for slow mornings with coffee and nowhere particular to be. Every room is furnished with genuine period pieces, 4 poster beds, pedagama chests, and rattan planters chairs, alongside framed antique prints of old Ceylon that have hung in these same rooms for years rather than being sourced for effect. Depending on the room, views stretch across the fort's ramparts, the Dutch church, Gal Harbor, or the hotel's own 200-year-old gardens, each one offering an entirely different mood from the next despite sharing the same address and the same centuries-old walls. Bathrooms carry the same restraint: standalone tubs, simple fittings, and none of the over-designed excess that so many modern luxury hotels default to when given a blank canvas to work with. For those wanting complete privacy, the suite extends to 80 square meters with its own separate lounge area, while the garden house goes further still, an entire 2-story retreat tucked into the frangipani-scented grounds and served by its own dedicated butler. The ground floor holds a fully furnished living and dining room. An internal staircase leads up to a daybed and banquet on the first floor, and a wraparound balcony overlooks the garden below, more private residence than hotel room. The kind of space families and small groups tend to book out entirely for a week rather than a night or two. Food at Amangalla moves through the day at its own unhurried pace. Breakfast begins with hoppers served on the veranda, a Sri Lankan specialty best eaten fresh and slightly charred at the edges, alongside fresh tropical fruit and coffee grown just hours from the fort itself. The dining room takes over for candlelit dinners built around Sri Lankan curries and classic Western dishes. Served in a room that has hosted exactly this kind of meal for well over a century, silverware and starched linen laid out the way it would have been for European steamer passengers arriving in the 1800s. Back in the Zal, afternoon tea arrives as a proper ritual, warm scones and a spread of savories laid out beneath the same chandeliers that once lit the room for Dutch and British officers. A tradition that has barely changed shape in well over 100 years and remains complimentary for every guest staying at the hotel. As evening falls, the veranda becomes the place for a cocktail, mixed specifically for whoever happens to be sitting there, taken slowly while the light over the fort begins to fade and the day's heat finally starts to lift, church bells occasionally marking the hour somewhere close by. Wellness here centers on the baths, a spa built around dramatic stone archways and a candlelit recess that feels more excavated than constructed, almost like it was uncovered rather than designed by anyone in particular. Inside, guests move through a full hydrotherapy circuit, a massage pool, steam room, sauna, and cold plunge, alongside dedicated Ayurvedic treatment rooms, drawing on centuries of South Asian healing tradition passed down through generations of local practitioners who trained long before the spa itself existed. Every stay includes complimentary daily access to the hydrotherapy suites, up to 30 minutes at a time, a rare inclusion most five-star spas would otherwise charge for separately, and guests rarely think to expect on arrival, discovering it almost by accident on the first morning. Outside, the pool sits within Amangalla's gardens, framed by tall palms and 5 shaded pavilions positioned for guests who would rather read than swim, each one angled to catch a breeze even in the height of the afternoon heat. Loungers here draw on traditional Sharpwai textile patterns, one more small detail tying the resort back to the region rather than to generic 5-star convention found at chain hotels up and down the coast. Few hotel pools anywhere offer quite this combination: centuries-old stone walls on one side, tropical garden on the other, with almost total quiet in between, broken only occasionally by birdsong from the surrounding trees and the distant sound of the harbor beyond the ramparts. None of this exists in isolation. Amangalla sits directly along the ramparts of Galle Fort itself, a UNESCO World Heritage Site with walls nearly 20 meters thick, still functioning as a living neighborhood rather than a museum piece frozen behind glass, complete with its own school, churches, and families who have lived within these walls for generations. Step through the hotel's own doors, and you're already inside centuries of Dutch and British colonial history. Church bells, old trading houses, and narrow lanes that predate the hotel by generations, all reachable on foot within minutes of leaving reception. At sunset, guests frequently walk the ramparts just beyond the hotel walls, watching a local cricket match wind down as the sky over the harbor turns entirely gold, a view that belongs as much to Amangalla as anything found inside it. Since the fort and the hotel have essentially grown into one another over 3 centuries, so does staying inside a fort actually live up to the idea of it? Reviewers overwhelmingly say yes, and for a specific reason. It isn't the amenities alone that guests mention afterward, it's the sensation of the walls themselves. The sense of sleeping inside something that has genuinely witnessed history rather than simply referencing it in the decor. That feeling, guests repeatedly note, is difficult to manufacture and impossible to fake, no matter how much a newer hotel might spend trying, and it tends to be the detail people bring up first when describing the state of friends back home. Amangalla is ideal for history lovers who want their surroundings to be authentic rather than themed. Couples seeking a slower, more atmospheric side of Sri Lanka, and travelers who value quiet, personal service over flashy scale and oversized amenity lists. Families are genuinely welcomed too, with extra beds available on request and the garden house offering enough space to spread out without ever feeling like a conventional hotel stay. It particularly suits anyone planning to explore Sri Lanka's southern coast, using the fort itself as a base worth lingering in rather than simply passing through on the way to the beach. Buildings this old rarely survive intact, let alone remain in continuous use for over 300 years. Amangalla has done both, first as a Dutch headquarters, then a British barracks, then a beloved colonial-era hotel welcoming steamship passengers, and now Asia's most storied small hotel. Its walls absorbing every version of that story without ever needing to raise their voice or announce what they've witnessed to anyone passing through. If Amangalla is calling you, all booking details and the official website link are in the description below. With only 29 rooms inside a single historic building, availability is genuinely limited, especially during Sri Lanka's peak travel season between December and April, so we recommend booking well ahead of your travel dates. If you enjoyed this journey, please hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next hidden gem. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next adventure.